I have the time as 7 o'clock, so I'd like to call this meeting of the Urbana City Council Committee of the Whole to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Okay, I thought I unmuted myself. I'm sorry. Ms. Wu, Mr. Evans,
Here.
Ms. Hersey, Ms. Colasetti,
Here.
Ms. Bishop,
Here.
Ms. Wilkin,
Here.
Mr. Quisenberry,
Here.
Mayor Marlin.
Here. The first item we have on our agenda for tonight is the approval of the previous minutes from January 18th of 2022. Is there a motion?
I move to approve minutes from January 18th.
Second. Moved by Chandra and seconded by Grace. Are there any additions or corrections? Seeing no corrections or further discussion, will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Evans,
Yes.
Ms. Colasetti, Ms. Colasetti, I didn't hear you.
Yes, sorry.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Bishop,
Yes.
Ms. Wilkin,
Yes.
Mr. Quisenberry.
Yes.
Minutes are approved. Next, we have if there are any additions to the agenda, changes. Yes, Mayor Marlin.
Yes, we do have one change, and that would be a request to move item number 12 to appear and be voted on after item number 7, and that's resolution number 2022-02-008R.
We have to take a roll call vote on that too.
Yes, we'll need a motion. Well, do we, Madam Clerk?
You can, yes.
All right, we have a motion to move.
I can't move that, so someone will have to move that.
Can I have a motion to move item number 12 to after item number 7?
A motion to move item 12 to item 8.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Moved by Chandra and seconded by Chris. Can the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Evans,
Yes.
Ms. Colasetti,
Yes.
Ms. Bishop,
Yes.
Ms. Wilkin,
Yes.
Mr. Quisenberry.
Yes.
And I'm here too now, Ms. Clark.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Hersey?
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
The motion passes. We'll move item number 12 to after item number 7. Next, we will move on to public input and presentations. We'll move on specifically to public input. If you would like to speak, please raise your hand and we will call on you. Not currently seeing any hands. If you would like to address the Urbana City Council Committee of the Whole, please raise your hand and we will call on you. Okay, I'm not seeing any hands raised. Next, we had a proclamation from the mayor.
Yes, thank you. This is a proclamation for African American History Month. And I want to note that this proclamation was authored by City Council member Sharice Hersey. Whereas the month of February is nationally recognized as African American History Month or Black History Month for the purpose of discovering and educating the entire citizenry of the United States in regards to the achievements, contributions, and tribulations made and endured by our African American brethren. And whereas the genesis of Black History Month began as Negro History Week on the second week of February in the year 1926 to call attention to and memorialize African Americans that sacrificed life, transcended racists and racism, prejudice, and discrimination to participate and benefit in, quote, the life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, end quote. And whereas Negro History Week evolved, became, and has been recognized as Black History Month since the year 1970. And whereas the city of Urbana, Illinois, has adopted a resolution committing to end structural racism and achieve racial equity, in which it is recognized that racism is a threat to the public health of the African American diaspora, as well as all citizens of Urbana. And whereas the city of Urbana, Illinois recognizes and encourages the fact that African American history is American history, and that it serves the purpose of making Urbana and the United States a more perfect union. Now, therefore, I, Diane Wolf Marlin, Mayor of the City of Urbana, do hereby proclaim February 2022 as African American History Month in the city of Urbana, Illinois, and encourage every citizen to enrich, memorialize, and edify themselves in learning of the contributions made by our African American brothers and sisters.
Thank you very much for that. Do we have any presentations today? Didn't see any. All right. We will move on to staff reports. Any staff reports?
I have, I wanted to give an update on snow if I could. So first I just have to say how fabulous our public works staff in particular was during the snowstorm. They were just incredible. And I want to put that in a context for you. So the first thing is that the snow event that we had, this is the most snow that we've had since 1999. And because it came in two distinct waves, it made it especially challenging. And we also had, in trying to staff up our snow fighters, we had 6 full-time public works staff members who would otherwise be working snow out with COVID, including one of our supervisors. And we were also down a few budgeted positions that are just simply vacant. So we were working with, a lean group, but they started on Tuesday evening, 12-hour rotating shifts, and they worked through Saturday at 11 p.m. Nonstop on those 12-hour shifts. And everyone who was available in public works was working the event. So where we are now is that even the sidewalks that the city is responsible for clearing are still a work in progress, and we're finding that with other folks as well. They took a break on Sunday so everybody could get some rest. They were tending to the vehicles and maintenance of the vehicles today. So they'll be back with evening operations tomorrow, working on continuing they'll haul snow out of our parking lots. They'll do the additional sidewalk clearing and the ramp clearing. And then on Wednesday, they'll schedule another pass through the residential areas to widen the clear path. But people need to understand that we're not going to be able to get the residential side streets in the same condition as we have the primary and secondary routes. We just don't have the people for that. So very proud of all of our folks in public works. I want to also say that on 8 a.m. Saturday, the sidewalk snow removal ordinance went into effect. So people basically had all weekend to do that are subject to it. So we didn't start any enforcement until today. And the first step in enforcement is issuing a notice to anybody who is in violation of that sidewalk snow removal ordinance. And about 20 notices were issued today, and then there'll be follow-up tomorrow. And the follow-up could take the form of a citation, and or we have a contractor on standby who can then clear the sidewalk for anybody who declines to do so, and then that adjacent property owner will be billed if they're subject to the sidewalk snow removal ordinance. So I also want to give a shout out to police and fire. They were busy as well. Police responded to 49 assist motorist calls from the 1st through the 5th of February, and there were 7 weather-related accidents. And I'd also just like to thank all the residents and business owners who have cleared their sidewalks, whether they're required to or not. I think there's quite a few people that aren't required to that have done a fabulous job of getting their sidewalks passable. So happy to answer any questions about the snow effort, but this was pretty memorable event for us. Thank you.
Grace.
Thanks. Thank you for the update. You answered most of my snow questions, so thank you for that thorough report. I was just wanting to reiterate and clarify. So the certain areas that we went over in a presentation a few weeks ago that have the sidewalk clearing enforcement kind of area, is that correct?
Yes.
That's on the city website?
Yes, it is.
Under, people would just search snow?
If you put sidewalk snow removal, that should work to get the maps up. There's downtown, and there's Philo Road, and where else is there? There's one other kind of big area, but people at this point, most people who are in the area are aware of it because when we changed the ordinance, there was a notification sent out. So I think most people are aware. And if they're not, they got a notice today to remind them.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, I'm particularly passionate about the Philo Road area because there's a lot of people on motorized scooters or with carts and all sorts of things needing the sidewalk and ramps cleared. And it does look overall pretty good. I definitely appreciate all the work that's gone into it. And there are a few spots that are, make it impassable. And so it sounds like on the city side, they already know where those spots are. Is that correct? Or is it helpful for people to report it? Or you feel like they already know what those are?
If people could just give us another day, and if you don't see the sidewalk clear, then you can report it. And there's a form to fill out online. You don't need to call Public Works, although you're welcome to call Public Works and do that. But just give us another day. We've been regrouping, and we know there's work left to do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sharice?
Yeah, for Grace's edification, I just want to say that they're on the website, on the City of Urbana website. There is under hot topics, snow and ice removal. And it says in the know about snow, and it says for your safety and convenience, these primary arterial streets are treated first. And it gives you all the information, including what the snow removal plan is and FAQs on that page, in the know about snow. And people can check online if they want to also get some information. At least and I just clicked on there just so that you can, one can look at that as well.
Thanks, Sharice.
Any other questions for Carol? Thank you so much for that update. I know we've all been kind of adventuring through this together, and certainly thankful to Public Works. We will move on now to ordinances and resolutions. And the first we have is resolution number 2022-02-018R, a resolution accepting a grant from the Champaign County Environmental Stewards. Public Works presenting on this.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This is a resolution to accept a grant from Champaign County Environmental Stewards. Originally, that grant was made to them by Lumpkin Family Foundation. The purpose of this grant is to construct a concrete bin at the Landscape Recycling Center. That bin will allow the Landscape Recycling Center and Champaign County Environmental Stewards to engage in a limited scope food scrap composting pilot project. And so the purpose of the bin is to manage a much more wet material through the composting process than we normally get. The ultimate disposition will be to move that composted material into the leaf compost, which then becomes our screened garden compost. I'll take any questions you might have.
Charisse?
How big is the structure going to be?
Oh, it's I don't have that in front of me. It's something like 20 by 30.
Okay. That's what I was just trying to find, and I didn't know see that.
It's a concrete slab with concrete blocks on 3 sides.
Okay.
Go ahead, Charisse.
Oh, okay. No, Chandra, you go ahead.
Chandra?
I was just going to ask about the budget amendment that's coming and when we see that.
This would be included in the next budget amendment.
Okay, so whenever that comes forward, it'll just be with it. Okay.
Yeah, it'll be one of the many in that budget amendment.
Charisse, do you want to jump back in?
Sure. In that case, I'd like to make a motion to move for approval resolution number 2022-02-018R, resolution accepting a grant from the Champaign County Environmental Stewards. Move to approval on a consent agenda, City Council.
I'll second.
All right, so it has been moved by Charisse and seconded by James to send resolution 2022-02-018R, resolution accepting a grant from Champaign County Environmental Stewards to council with recommendation for approval on the consent agenda. Any further discussion? Yes, Grace?
Thank you. I was just going to say that I'll be abstaining from voting on this one because I'm a board member of Champaign County Environmental Stewards. But I highly support this project and encourage us accepting it. I love composting, and this has been a brainchild of mine since before becoming council. And it's since come together as a really nice collaborative effort with Champaign County Environmental Stewards. The part of the city with Scott Tess has been really awesome in helping with all of this. And one of our commissions, the Sustainability Advisory Commission, has also been informed and supportive of this project. And I'm excited about hopefully launching this pilot project soon. And we're looking for some commercial waste generator participants like grocery stores and restaurants in Urbana to be some of our first participants in this pilot project.
Thank you, Grace. James?
Yeah, I want to thank the Champaign County Environmental Stewards for supporting this. I think we've heard that this was coming in a couple of hints earlier, and I really look forward to us expanding this capability. It's been much needed. I've heard about other communities that are able to do this and been a little bit jealous. So thanks to them for their support, and I hope the pilot goes great.
Any further discussion? Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Quisenberry?
Yes.
Ms. Wilkin?
Abstain.
Ms. Bishop?
Yes.
Ms. Colasetti?
Yes.
Ms. Hersey?
Yes.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Right, that motion passes. The next ordinance is on the agenda is ordinance number 2022-01-007, ordinance amending ordinance number 2018-12-082, Urbana City Code, Chapter 2, Administration, Article 4, Boards and Commission, Division 4, Arts and Culture Commission, and Arts and Culture Program, adding a youth member to Arts and Cultural Commission, Community Development. I'm guessing, Rachel, that's you.
That's me. Good evening, council people. You know me as the Arts and Culture Coordinator of the city's Urbana Arts and Culture Program. The proposed ordinance that you have in front of you would add a youth member seat to the Urbana Arts and Culture Commission composition. This would be open to a resident of the city of Urbana who's past the age of 14, but not yet reached the age of 18, so roughly high school age. This youth member will not have the authority to vote on any matter considered by the Urbana Arts and Culture Program that may bind the program or the city or its departments, but could vote on motions or make recommendations to the mayor or city council that are non-binding. The Urbana Arts and Culture Commission recommends the member should have a one-year term renewable by mayoral appointment, but would end upon the member's 18th birthday, mirroring the conditions, all of these that I mentioned, in the Sustainability Advisory Commission's Youth Commissioner seat. So really modeled after that commissioner youth seat that already exists at the city. This comes kind of on the backs of a lot of recent years spent taking deliberate steps to better ensure our programs and initiatives serve the full diversity of the Urbana community. We've really tried to reflect Urbana's broad diversity along lines of race, socioeconomic class, gender, culture, ability status, and many other facets of social identity. But as part of the effort, the Urbana Arts and Culture Program really wants to have youth front and center. We really want to make sure that youth are both given specific opportunities, and therefore we launched things recently such as our ongoing internship programs, the Youth Poet Laureate Program, our Teen Writers Retreat, our Young Artist Studio, and our summer youth employment opportunities. But we also want to make sure that youth voices are present at our meetings. So as an extension of wanting to better serve adults, on November 9th, our commission recommended a revision of our ordinance that would allow for this youth seat to be a part of the commission permanently, so that they can also take on leadership of artistic and cultural development. The changes are outlined in the draft proposal that you saw. Obviously, from the staff perspective, we emphasize that we think there will be lots of benefits, including deepening the city's commitment to sharing program planning with our public and especially our young adults, cultivating an appreciation for public service and municipal leadership development for Urbana youth, and of course, ensuring the needs and interests of young people are better reflected in our work. We recommend you approve the ordinance on the City Council consent agenda to amend the Arts and Culture Commission and Program Ordinance presented and include a youth member in our commission composition.
Chris.
Thanks, Rachel. Great idea. And it's such a good idea. I just wonder why the youth member won't have a voting, won't be able to vote.
Yeah, I don't have a good answer for that other than we were modeling it off of established youth seats at the city. But perhaps look like the mayor may have an answer for that too.
I'd say Dave Wessner can answer that, please.
I think there's a lot of times where when you have youth involved, it's to get their perspective. But in terms of an overall concept of a board or commission, you're really looking at, some the older members on there who end up being, what you normally consider to be board members and commission members that actually do have voting authority. Is that something that is an absolute? I could do a little research to find out, whether or not there is some particular issue with, someone of youth under 18, let's say, that would be able to be a voting member of, a body. But I think most communities I've seen will just have that youth voice on the commission, but not necessarily be an absolute voting member of that body.
And I believe when we
I'm sorry, go ahead, Mayor.
When we added the youth member to the Sustainability Advisory Commission, it was, we were advised that people needed to be 18 years or older. They had to be legally an adult to legally bind the city in terms of anything financial.
And I guess piggybacking off of that, the one thing of note is that the Urbana Arts and Culture Commission presently only does one primary vote a year. So we are largely an advisory body. The vote that we make is a financial one. So it's particularly about our Tier 3 arts grants. Those are our largest festival grants in the amount of $5,000 to $10,000. We give out between usually $20,000 and $35,000 annually in that grant category, and it's decided upon directly from the Arts Commission.
Therese? You're muted.
Sorry. I'm just, and this is probably just a typo, but because the memo itself is says Chapter 2, Article 6, and the resolution and everything, even on the agenda, says Chapter 2, Article 4. So I just I want to know for sure that it's article, because it's Roman numbers issue. It's like a V and an I and an I and a V, and one is 6 and one is 4. So
can you show me where you're seeing it? Because on mine, I see Article 6, Division 4 on all of them.
Right. And I see, okay, I don't know if I can.
So it's Article
I
Roman numeral
don't know if
6.
you'll be able to see it with, just on my little piece of paper.
Therese is correct that the agenda says Article 4 IV, not VI, so we can make sure we correct that.
And it also, it says the draft ordinance amending Urbana City Code, Chapter 2, Article 6, Division 4 again. When it says Exhibit A. And then when we get into the resolution, the ordinance itself, it says Article 4. Is it Article 4 or is it Article 6?
I will need to go back and consult. I don't want to say the wrong information, but I can confirm that momentarily.
Okay. I mean, it has the corrections and the addition and everything, but I just didn't want to be confused as to whether or not it was Article 6 or Article 4. And the resolution says Article 4, but the title says Article 6. And that's what I was just kind of confused, and I didn't look it up myself, and I probably should have.
Yeah, I believe it's Article 6, Division 4.
Okay. Yeah. But when you look through the resolution, it says Article 4. And it says division, I guess it says Division 4 too. Division 4, but it says Article 4. So just to clarify or whatever, I just thought you might want to know that.
Oh, absolutely. So I'm not seeing where you're seeing it, but I will find it. And I'm looking at the document as presented to you in the packet that's available online. So if somebody could point me to where you see the 4, that would also be helpful. But I believe it's Article 6, Division 4.
It's listed in the agenda as Article 4, but I'm guessing that's just a typo and a good catch on Teresa's part. Grace?
Thank you. On that note, too, to further clarify, I do see it on the third to last page on the actual ordinance document, the first page of the ordinance document, right after the now therefore be it ordained. That's where it says Article 4, and that's in your binding ordinance. So I think that's the important one to catch there.
Well, it says whereas the aforesaid Public Arts Commission and Permanent Public Arts Program was established and appears in Urbana City Code, Chapter 2, Administration, Article 4, Boards and Commissions, Division 4, Public Arts Commission and Art and Public Arts Program. And throughout the resolution, it and the 4 is Roman numerals. Okay, so
I see what you're saying now. Thank you.
Okay. And I was just confused and just wanted, to know or have some clarification as to whether or not is it Article 6 or is it Article 4?
Good catch.
Maybe
I fear this may have not been caught the last time we had an ordinance revision. Sneaky Roman numerals. Okay, I will take a look and make sure that it is verified, but I may need a little bit to do so.
Okay.
And my question, if I may, was about the youth member voting. I feel like I heard kind of mixed things. Is it absolute? We know that they cannot vote on binding things under 18, or we're not sure yet if someone under 18 could be a voting member for a binding thing?
I'll just comment, Councilmember Wilkin, a little bit. Most of the boards and commissions that I work with are advisory to the main body, the city council or village board. And in that capacity, that's the question in my mind about whether it would be an absolute that they can't, because it's an advisory body. I think as Rachel indicated, and she can correct me if I'm wrong, she indicated that that particular commission votes to expend money and has the authority to do so on their own, which means it doesn't come back to the full city council for a vote. And I think it's there, as the mayor probably alluded to, is that where the actual voting members do have to be then of majority age in order to actually bind the city or expend money on the city's behalf with that authority.
Thank you.
And just to point out, so for the types of votes that are simply recommendations to come before city council, they would vote on things like that.
Are there any other questions for Rachel? Can I get a motion? Yeah, Grace.
I was going to move. Is that Sharice's doing too?
Yeah.
I'll move this one. Ordinance number 2022-01-007, an ordinance amending ordinance number 2018-12-082, Urbana City Code, Chapter 2, Administration, Article 6, amended, right? Are we not sure yet?
I think we need to maybe I don't know if you're able to vote and say upon clarification of this or whatever, but I think we will need to clarify it further because this was edited based off of our last ordinance. So we need to make sure that that one didn't have a typo in it as well.
So can I say Article 4 or 6, whichever relates to boards and commissions, Division 4, Arts and Culture Commission and Arts and Culture Program, adding a youth member to the Arts and Culture Commission with recommendation for approval on consent agenda?
You shouldn't put it on consent agenda if there's clarification that needs to be done.
Excellent, thank you. Not on consent agenda, for recommendation for approval to city council on the regular agenda.
I'll second that, and maybe we can amend it to saying that corrections made are clarified. I don't know, Ms. Clark, how does that work? If we're talking about there are corrections to be made in something like that.
Well, the way Grace just presented it is perfectly fine. That way it covers everything that you're looking for.
Okay. So second.
Okay.
All right, now we'll see if I can get this right. So it's been moved by Grace and seconded by Sharice to send ordinance number 2022-01-007, an ordinance amending ordinance number 2018-12-082, Urbana City Code, Chapter 2, Administration, Article 4 or 6, whichever has to do with boards and commissions, Division 4, Arts and Culture Commission and Arts and Culture Program, adding a youth member to Arts and Culture Commission to council with a recommendation for approval. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Ms. Hersey?
Yes.
Ms. Colasetti?
Yes.
Ms. Bishop?
Yes.
Ms. Wilkin?
Yes.
Mr. Quisenberry?
Yes.
That motion carries. And now we are going to move on to what was item number 12. Resolution number 2022-02-008R, a resolution approving and authorizing the execution of an Urbana Home Consortium Community Housing Development Organization Agreement, Habitat for Humanity Chodo Certification PY 2021.
Good evening. This is Sheila Dodd, grants manager. This CHOTO certification allows us to allocate funding to Habitat for Humanity to build affordable housing units in the community. We first have to certify that they've met all the requirements to be a CHOTO before we can allocate any funding. So that's why we have the change in the order of the agenda.
Thank you, Sheila. Any questions for Sheila on this one? Grace.
Sorry, I got lost here with mixing up the order. Could you reiterate that with this one is for them becoming a CHOTO for a later item tonight that's an agreement with them as a CHOTO, is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. And that's
it's something that we do annually with all of our CHOTOs before we allocate funding. HUD requires us to first certify that they've met all the requirements to be a community housing development organization.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. I was just trying to see where I'm lost because it looks like that 12th item that we moved said the Housing Development Organization Agreement. Oh, CHOTO certification. Okay. And then later we'll have one with an actual agreement with them, right? Okay. Thank you. Sorry.
No problems.
James?
Yes, I would make a motion if we're ready for that, which is I'd move approval of resolution number 2022-02-008R, a resolution approving and authorizing the execution of an Urbana Home Consortium Community Housing Development Organization Agreement for Habitat for Humanity, CHDO certification, plan year or program year 2021. And I'll move that to City Council for approval on the consent agenda.
A second.
All right, so we've got moved by James and seconded by Chandra to send resolution number 2022-02-008R, resolution approving and authorizing the execution of an Urbana Home Consortium Community Housing Development Organization Agreement, Habitat for Humanity CHOTO certification PY 2021 to council with a recommendation for approval on the consent agenda. Is there any further discussion? Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Quisenberry,
Yes.
Ms. Wilkin,
Yes.
Ms. Bishop,
Yes.
Ms. Colasetti,
Yes.
Ms. Hersey,
Yes.
Mr. Evans.
Yes.
That motion carries. Next is resolution number 2022-02-004R, a resolution approving and authorizing the execution of an Urbana Home Consortium Community Housing Development Organization Agreement with Courage Connection TBRA. I'm guessing this is Sheila again?
Yes, it is. First, there needs to be a correction. The agenda has the resolution listed incorrectly, but it is correct on the actual memo and resolution. The Community Housing Development Organization portion does not belong in that title. This is just a giving a subrecipient agreement to Courage Connection. Courage Connection has managed a tenant-based rental assistance program for several years, and they're just finishing an award that they were giving a couple years ago. And so they have come to us asking for additional funding. With this being a much needed area need in the community, affordable rental housing, we're recommending that we fund them at $150,000, which should cover them for 2 years to provide affordable rental housing to people suffering from just domestic violence.
Any questions for Sheila? Chris?
Yes, Sheila, thanks for doing this. just wanted to clarify the rental assistance is going for properties other than the properties at Courage Connection, right?
Yes, the tenant chooses the location, and they don't necessarily have to be in Urbana. They can be Champaign County wide is how this program operates.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions for Sheila? Or can we get a motion?
I'll move to approve resolution number 2022-02-004R, a resolution approving and authorizing the execution of an Urbana Home Consortium agreement with Courage Connection TBRA on the consent agenda.
I'll second.
Okay. It has been moved by Chandra and seconded by Charisse to send a resolution approving and authorizing the execution of an Urbana Home Consortium subrecipient agreement, Courage Connection TBRA, fiscal year 2021-2022, on to council for approval on the consent agenda. Is there any further discussion? Yes, Grace.
Thank you. Just wanted to express appreciation for Sheila and community development. I think it's great to get these things out here to the community and really important work. So I appreciate all that's gone into that. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Evans,
Yes.
Ms. Hersey,
Yes.
Ms. Colasetti,
Yes.
Ms. Bishop,
Yes.
Ms. Wilkin,
Yes.
Mr. Quisenberry.
Yes.
That motion carries. Next, we have resolution number 2022-02-005R, a resolution approving and authorizing the execution of an Urbana Home Consortium Community Housing Development Organization Agreement, Champaign County Regional Planning Commission, TPRA.
Again, this one will have a correction in the title. The memo and the resolution are correct, but the agenda is wrong. The Community Housing Development Organization needs to be taken out of this particular one. This is another tenant-based rental assistance program. Champaign County is part of the Urbana Home Consortium, and they direct their percentage of the funding to be used for rental assistance. They've ran this program for probably 18, 20 years. And it's, again, just a much needed program within the community.
Any questions for Sheila on this one? Is there any discussion or motion? Therese?
Okay, I'd like to make a motion that resolution, trying to make sure I'm in the right one. 2022-02. Is that the one because we switched everything up, so I'm kind of confused. Or is it
Yes, that's the one.
05R or 006R?
5R.
5R.
Okay, 005R. A resolution approving and authorizing the execution of an Urbana Home Consortium agreement with Champaign County Regional Planning Commission, TBR. Move for approval on a consent agenda to the City Council. Hope I'm looking at the right
I'll
one.
second.
Great, so moved by Charisse and seconded by Chandra to send resolution number 2022-02-005R, 2022-005R resolution approving and authorizing the execution of an Urbana Home Consortium subrecipient agreement, Champaign County Regional Planning Commission, TBRA, FY 2021-2022. On to City Council for approval on the consent agenda. Is there any further discussion? All right, will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Evans,
Yes.
Ms. Hersey,
Yes.
Ms. Colasetti,
Yes.
Mr. Quisenberry,
Yes.
Ms. Bishop,
Yes.
Ms. Wilkin.
Yes.
That motion carries. Next, we have resolution number 2022-02-006R, resolution approving and authorizing the execution of an Urbana Home Consortium Community Housing Development Organization Agreement, Habitat for Humanity, Choto Developer PY 2021. Is this one accurate or?
Yes, this one's accurate.
Awesome.
This is a request from Habitat for Choto funding to develop 5 housing units, 4 in Urbana and 1 in Champaign, utilizing our FY 19-20 funding as well as our 21-22 funds. During COVID, HUD allowed us to request a waiver just because of timing and trying to get our COVID dollars out. We were allowed to set the commitment issue aside for the 19-20 funds. And now we're moving forward with getting those committed to an organization. So they've requested funding for those 5 units.
Any questions for Sheila? Chris?
Thank you. I was wondering if or how much is still remaining from the, because also correct me on this, please, if I'm wrong, that this was the home consortium stuff and a lot of that home funding that needed to go out. And is that right so far? That's where this is.
It is home consortium funding, yes. And 15% of our annual allocation has to be awarded to a Choto. And Habitat for Humanity and First Followers are 2 Chotos.
Okay, and does this cover the 15% with all of these to Habitat?
Not 100%. It will all the 19-20 money, and it will part of the 21-22 money. And we expect to come back later with a request from First Followers. But they didn't apply at this time. So we know that they're going to have a need, and we know they've got a project identified, but we'll just come back at a later date with that.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions for Sheila? Any further discussion or motion?
I'll move to approve resolution number 2022-02-006R, a resolution approving and authorizing the execution of an Urbana Home Consortium Community Housing Development Organization agreement with Habitat for Humanity, Choto Developer PY 2021 for approval on the consent agenda.
I'll second.
It has been moved by Chandra and seconded by Sharice to send resolution number 2022-02-006R, resolution approving and authorizing the execution of an Urbana Home Consortium Community Development Organization Agreement, Habitat for Humanity, Choto Developer PY 2021 to council with a recommendation for approval on the consent agenda. Is there any further discussion?
Just had a quick question for Sheila about the price increase. They're asking for more because the construction costs have gone up due to like the pandemic and logistic issues? Is that?
Yeah, the price of building materials has really gone up due to the pandemic.
Is this the only home they're doing right now, or are they doing another one?
No, they've got 5 that they're proposing, and right now they're doing 2, which they expect to be completed in the summer, and they kind of just roll them off. You know, they'll probably start another couple in the spring that'll be done in the fall.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Quisenberry,
Yes.
Ms. Bishop,
Yes.
Ms. Wilkin,
Yes.
Ms. Colasetti,
Yes.
Ms. Hersey,
Yes.
Mr. Evans.
Yes.
That motion carries. Next, we have resolution number 2022-02-007R, a resolution approving and authorizing the execution of an Urbana Home Consortium Community Housing Development Organization Agreement, Habitat for Humanity. What's this? Sorry, am I repeating myself?
No, this is an amendment to a previous
All right,
agreement.
sorry, thank you.
No, that's correct.
Habitat for Humanity Chodo operating PY 2021.
The Chodos are allowed to request funding to help with their construction cost, and typically Habitat requests $7,500, which covers their administrative and part of their construction staff cost for each project. So they're requesting $37,500 to do these 5 projects.
Any questions for Sheila? Is there a discussion or a motion? Grace.
Thank you. I'll move to council for approval on consent agenda resolution number 2022-02-007R, resolution approving and authorizing the execution of an Urbana Home Consortium Community Housing Development Organization Agreement, Habitat for Humanity, Chodo operating PY 2021.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you.
I'll second.
All right, so moved by Grace and seconded by Chandra is then resolution number 2022-02-007R, resolution approving and authorizing the execution of an Urbana Home Consortium Community Housing Development Organization Agreement, Habitat for Humanity, Chodo operating PY 2021 to City Council with a recommendation for approval on the consent agenda. Is there any further discussion? All right, will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Evans,
Yes.
Ms. Hersey,
Yes.
Ms. Colasetti,
Yes.
Ms. Bishop,
Yes.
Ms. Wilkin,
Yes.
Mr. Quisenberry.
Yes.
Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is resolution number 2022-02-009R, resolution approving amendment number 1 to a City of Urbana Community Housing Development Organization program agreement, Habitat for Humanity of Champaign County, Inc.
This is an amendment to a resolution that council approved on October 11th, 2021 to provide funding to build the home at 1112 North Champaign Street. The home is for someone that has special needs, and so Habitat has requested additional funding to help cover those additional construction costs. The person needs to have accessibility needs in the roll-in shower and bathroom modifications that are outside the normal cost of building a home. So these additional funds will help cover those costs.
Any questions for Sheila? Grace?
Thank you. Is this coming out of that same Choto pool of that 233,900?
Yes.
What?
Yes.
Okay, so now we're getting pretty close to all of that 15% allocation, right?
I believe, I don't have it in front of me. I think there's going to be about 25,000 roughly left when they're done, when these agreements are approved. So there still will be a balance of Choto funding available if First Followers or Habitat comes back needing additional program funds. If they come back and they need additional funding beyond what we have here, they are always eligible for home funding. And we have a large balance of home funds that we can allocate to either one of these organizations.
Okay, and so you're saying the 15% is the minimum too, not a maximum, right, for the Choto one?
Yeah, we have to do that to Chotos. However, if we gave 50% of our funding to Chotos, that's okay. But we have to, at a minimum, give the 15.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions for Sheila? Okay, do we have any discussion or motion? Oh, sorry, go ahead, Grace.
I'll do both since you asked for both. Maybe discussion, just thanks again to Sheila and Community Development. I think that this is all great stuff, getting this stuff out in the community and being accessible and making sure that people have the things that they need in their home. So I think that's wonderful. And I will move, we're on 009 now, right? Okay, thanks. So I would like to move resolution number 2022-02009, resolution approving amendment number 1 to the City of Urbana Community Housing Development Organization Program Agreement, Habitat for Humanity of Champaign County, Inc., to City Council with recommendation for approval on consent agenda.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, so it's been moved by Grace and seconded by Chandra to send resolution number 2022-02-009R, a resolution approving amendment number 1 to a City of Urbana Community Housing Development Organization Program Agreement, Habitat for Humanity of Champaign County, Inc., to City Council with a recommendation for approval on the consent agenda. Will the clerk, is there any further discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Evans,
Yes.
Mr. Quisenberry,
Yes.
Ms. Hersey,
Yes.
Ms. Colasetti,
Yes.
Ms. Bishop,
Yes.
Ms. Wilkin.
Yes.
That motion carries. Next, we have a resolution number 2022-02-010R, a resolution approving and authorizing the execution of a sub-recipient agreement, youth services agreement, Urbana Neighborhood Connections Community Studies Center.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'd like some direction. Are these all going to be considered, because items 14 through 21 are all the youth grant agreements? Will those be considered as one, or do you want me to go over them separately?
I recommend in the past, they've always been discussed as one, but you can vote on them individually.
Okay, wonderful. Well, then I'll just start giving sort of a broad overview of all of these. Again, items 14 through 21 are the youth service grant agreements that we hope to have approved tonight. So again, these are 8 resolutions approving and authorizing the execution of youth services agreements with 6 different agencies. So these proposed agreements allocate $100,000 to agencies that provide community-based services for Urbana youth from low-income families. Of that pot of money, $75,000 comes from fiscal year 2021-2022 city general funds, and $25,000 comes from community development block grant funding. So we held a competitive grant cycle this past year with many qualified applicants. In total, staff received applications from 8 agencies to fund a total of 10 programs. So just to give a brief background, the application process opened on November 15th, 2021, and applications closed on December 17th. Staff held a technical assistance session on November 19th to provide additional information to potential applicants and to answer any questions they might have about the program. Again, because this was a new program that we're running this year, and we wanted to make sure everyone had the information that they needed going into it. So on January 19th, 2022, staff convened a committee to review and score the applications. The committee consisted of Councilmember Mary Alice Wu, Community Engagement Coordinator Lamond Peppers, Sheila Dodd, and myself. The committee utilized a scoring tool to evaluate the applications and to determine the funding allocations. This tool was provided to applicants beforehand, and it is also included in your packet as attachment 3 to the memo, so you can take a look if you're curious. The narrative section of the application guided the committee in determining an agency's fitness to use the funds and to serve unmet needs for low-income Urbana residents. So we are unable, unfortunately, to fund every program at 100% of what their original request was. And so the committee made determinations, recommended determinations based on the scoring tool, which prioritized collaboration, the ability to leverage resources, as well as the anticipated long-term impact of the program. A couple other items that the committee looked at very closely as we were ranking and reviewing the applications. We looked at how closely the application met one of the applicable goals and priorities and/or key service areas expressed in the Youth Services Grant Guiding Principles. We looked at an agency's ability to support the program with other resources. Again, we looked at that leveraging support. That was really important to us, so that they weren't just relying on the City of Urbana funding, but could bring together other funding sources. We also looked at an agency's capability to increase service to Urbana residents, as well as we prioritized a program's ability to fill gaps in services to low-income residents. So the grantees who receive funding through this program, they will be able to use this funding for a variety of different administrative and operational costs. These include the payment of staff time in administering their program, the cost of supplies and materials, equipment, the lease of a facility for the program, or any other operational costs needed for the activity. So as I mentioned earlier, the funds for this program come from FY 21-22. And so the normal deadline for expenditure would be June 30th. However, staff will be extending that deadline through December 2022, just to allow grantees enough time to really plan and use their funds effectively. So we're really excited about this program, and we're also really excited that next year's round of Youth Services Grant funding is going to launch in March. So the applications for next year's cycle will open on March 7th, so coming right up here, and that application process will close on April 8th. Every grantee who applied this year has been encouraged to apply again next year. You know, we really want to make sure we can sustain these programs, and, you know, so it's not just a one-off funding, but that they can continue to receive funding in the future. And I will be leading another technical assistance session for next year's funding on Friday, March 11th. So we'll make sure to get the word out about that. We also hope that next year's process will be pretty much identical to this year. Again, we think it went pretty smoothly, so we want to try to keep, that as much the same as possible. We want to make sure we can hit the ground running on next year's funding. So that's one kind of area of guidance from council on the youth grant priorities, which are outlined. We brought them to you back in October, but they're also outlined again here in attachment 3 of your memo. You can see it's the health, wellness, and opportunity. We hope to keep those the same for next year, again, just to help us streamline and make sure we can get that funding out the door for next year in an efficient manner. So I'll take any questions about these now. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Do we have any questions for Brandon? Grace?
Thanks. Thank you for the presentation and for all your work on getting this money out in the community. My first question was, this is the first year that this particular grant pool has been available? Is that right?
For youth services, for this service area, yes. This is sort of, we used to do the Consolidated Social Service Funding Program in partnership with Cunningham Township. That was a long-standing program we did in partnership with them. Last year, they let us know that they had some different priorities and they wanted to shift their social service funding in a different direction to focus on some of the existing programs that they already had in place. And so at that point, City of Urbana staff wanted to find a way to continue to utilize our social service spending. And so we went to the Community Development Commission and, wanted to know, all right, if we're shifting our funding, what's another need in the community that we can focus on? And so youth services kept coming up as an urgent need in the community. So we developed this program. It kind of came out of that.
That's great. Thank you. And you said that you guys hope and plan to offer this next year very similarly, like similar process, yes. So 100,000.
Yes, exactly. And again, I have the application portal and everything is ready to go on March 7th. So I'm prepared and we're excited about continuing this program.
That's wonderful. Thank you. Yeah, I think it's definitely an important area. I appreciate the work in evaluating and funding these ones, making the key service areas. And I was wondering too, if it seems to me like it's more targeted for kind of older youth, I guess, like, middle school, high school, and kind of after school more programs. And I was wondering if that is correct and if there's a place for that younger age kind of daycare thing, or if you feel like that's kind of a separate target area here.
No, that's definitely what we have in mind. And in the original grant packet that was sent out, that, it's from that early childhood through the age of 22. So we really did make it clear that that does have a place. And actually the Well Experience, which is one of the proposed programs, their programming, and I really encourage you, if you're not familiar with the Well Experience, they do a lot of great work, and they do target that younger, single mothers, for example, who have young children. So they definitely do focus on that age group. But yes, we made it very clear in all of the material that it's that whole range of age. We're not kind of focusing on a certain like middle school or anything like that. We really want to hit the whole range for sure.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Do we have any discussion or motion? Grace?
My question and motion is if we can bundle these together at committee for a vote.
Oh, is it an omnibus thing again?
Yes.
Yes, you'd have to first vote to consider these in an omnibus manner, which would be all 8 of them.
Mm-hmm.
Pass that, and then actually pass the omnibus bunch.
Chris, do you want to make that motion?
Not really. If anyone else understands better, I don't know. Do I have to read them all both of those times? But I will if nobody else wants to.
So we do have to read all 8 in the omnibus, correct? Okay, so I move resolution number 2022-02-010R, resolution number 2022-02-011R, resolution number 2022-02-012R, resolution number 2022-013R, resolution number 2022-014R, resolution number 2022-02-015R, resolution number 2022-02-016R, and finally resolution number 2022-02-017R as an omnibus resolution. Or
I'll second that.
So we have a recommendation from Chandra, seconded by James, to pass those, was it 8 items in omnibus fashion?
Mhm.
So we need to,
We're bundling them in one act.
right.
And we pass the bundle.
Sorry, we're bundling them into like as an omnibus. Do I need to read them again to state that?
No.
Everyone's like, please don't. Charisse.
Just real quick, because 2 of those resolutions missed the 02 in between. So it's 2022. I think it should be -02-013R, and 2022 I think it should be 02-014R. There's at the very least a typo with those titles. Just something I noticed.
I accept that correction as the seconder.
I don't know if it's like that, if it's supposed to be that way without the 02 in the middle, but I thought the 02 specified the month.
The 02 is supposed to be the month, and it is supposed to be there. That's a typo. We were a little rushed in getting this out with the winter storm, so I apologize for the typos.
Okay, I just wanted to point that out. I didn't know if that's how it's supposed to be. Okay. Continue, Jay. I'm sorry.
Grace.
Thanks. That was my other one. And then do we need to like read the title, or can we read the one and then like for this place, or it's okay as is?
It sounds like we have a recommendation and a second as corrected with the addition of the months into the titles of the resolution. And
So then you need to vote on bundling.
right.
Yes.
So is there any further discussion on the bundling? Okay. Can we have a roll call vote?
Mr. Evans,
Yes.
Ms. Hersey,
Yes.
Ms. Colacetti,
Yes.
Ms. Bishop,
yes.
Ms. Wilkin,
Yes.
Mr. Quisenberry.
Yes. And then I'll move that omnibus collection be sent to City Council with recommendation for approval for the consent agenda. And I will go ahead just to be complete and say that includes resolutions approving, authorizing the execution of a subrecipient agreement for youth services agreement with Urbana Neighborhood Connections Community Study Center, Urbana Neighborhood Connections Urbana Youth Development Program, Steam Genius doing business as Hip Hop Express, HV Neighborhood Transformations Teen Summit Program, Don Moyer Boys and Girls Club Transportation for Urbana Youth, Don Moyer's Boys and Girls Club CU Together Support Program, and Champaign County Regional Planning Commission Youth Assessment Center, and finally the Well Experience Family Care Program.
We have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Moved by James, seconded by Chris. Is there any further discussion? Can we have a roll call vote?
Mr. Quisenberry,
Yes.
Miss Wilkin,
Yes.
Miss Bishop,
Yes.
Miss Colasetti,
Yes.
Miss Hersey,
Yes.
Mr. Evans.
Yes.
That motion passes, carries. Next, we have ordinance number 2022-02-08, an ordinance amending Urbana City Code Chapter 3, Section 3-43, increasing number of Class P liquor licenses for Philo, South Mart Inc., DBA BP Gas Station, 1821 South Philo Road, Urbana, Illinois.
Yes, this is a liquor license for packaged liquor sales at the gas station at the corner of Colorado and Philo. This was a Circle K. They've been sold, and it's now going to be a BP gas station.
Any questions? Sharice?
As the Circle K was already selling packaged liquor, so we're just basically changing, because it changed ownership, they have to have a new liquor license, right?
Yeah, and this is a little bit different in that when the Circle K closed, we had the Black Fox open, so that sort of was the exchange of liquor licenses there. We didn't have a net increase in licenses, but now that the BP has reapplied or applied for a liquor license, that's why there is an increase.
Okay.
Any other questions? Yeah, Sharice.
Okay, in that case, I'd like to move for ordinance number 2022-02-08, an ordinance amending Urbana City Code Chapter 3, Section 3-43, increasing number of Class P liquor licenses for Philo Road, South Mart Inc., DBA BP Gas Station, 1821 South Philo Road, Urbana, be moved to City Council for approval on the consent agenda.
Second.
Yeah, Grace, second. All right. So it's been moved by Sharice and seconded by Grace to send ordinance number 2022-02-08, an ordinance amending Urbana City Code Chapter 3, Section 3-43, increasing number of Class P liquor license for Philo, South Mart Inc., DBA BP Gas Station, 1821 South Philo Road, Urbana, Illinois, to council with a recommendation for approval on the consent agenda. Is there any further discussion? Okay, will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Evans,
Yes.
Miss Hersey,
Yes.
Miss Colasetti,
Yes.
Miss Bishop,
Yes.
Miss Wilkin,
Yes.
Mr. Quisenberry.
Yes.
That motion carries. Next, we have council input and communication. James.
Yeah, I did want to say thanks to Public Works staff and any city staff that helped with their tireless efforts to deal with what was a really long and extensive snow event. I know the citizens appreciate it. I know I appreciated it, and it's a lot of hard work. It's long hours. So we thank you for that. I did also want to mention that I've had some inquiries regarding the Plan Commission meeting this week, which includes an item on its agenda regarding the county's zoning text amendment about beekeeping. You may have heard about this. I just want to clarify, I hope correctly, that whenever the county makes a text amendment to zoning that would impact the area within a mile and a half of the city, which could at some point be annexed into the city, could be annexed into the city has an opportunity to protest that text amendment as if they were a neighbor of the place where the zoning change impacts. Several people have asked me if this has any impact on how the city of Urbana regulates beekeeping, and to my knowledge, the city of Urbana does not regulate beekeeping as long as the bees don't become subject to the nuisance ordinance, which is also possible. But I've heard no plans from the city or otherwise to go down that path. But this discussion does have to happen because when there is a text amendment, the city staff looks at that and brings it to the plan commission to ask them if they should, if we should consider as a city to protest it. And when we protest it, that means that the county needs a higher bar of voting to approve that text amendment. To my knowledge, the Zoning Board of Appeals is not recommending at this point likely to go forward with that. But in any case, our Urbana Plan Commission would only give us a recommendation at City Council as to protesting the change or remaining silent on it if we don't do anything. And so it has no impact in the short term, or as far as I know, the long term, of people to be able to keep bees when they live within the city limits of Urbana, because that's under our zoning rules as a home rule city. And if Diane or Carol can confirm what I just said, I'd appreciate it. Thanks.
That's my understanding. Yes. But we can double check for that.
Any other council communication? All right. Is there any further business before this committee? All right. Seeing no further business, this meeting is adjourned.